Hi, I'm Avery Hogan, and today we're going to be switching it up. I'm interviewing Jackson Weddle, and this is the final episode of It Takes All Kinds. What were your first thoughts initially agreeing to do the show, and were you scared or excited about anything in particular?
I didn't know what I was getting myself into when our producer Riley asked me, hey, do you want to be the host of like an episode on a TV show? I was like, yeah, sure, I'm not doing anything today. Definitely something I was hoping to gain was just, fun experience in the world, meeting all these new people that have different stories in their lives and how they got to be where they are. But it also came with a lot of nerves for each episode, like for instance, the stone statuary episode, lifting these 80-pound bags of concrete. I'm not the biggest guy in the world, so that was definitely interesting. The Land of Music episode, all these little intricate pieces of instruments, I was worried I was going to break something the entire time, and they're like, oh, that's, $200 instrument, now you got to pay for it, or, something like that.
What episode were you most excited about doing?
Definitely the Land of Music episode. Me coming from a music background, it's interesting to see how all this stuff happens behind the scenes that you don't normally get to see in your, everyday music career.
What was the first episode, and what was your favorite part about doing the episode?
So our first episode was at a place called Twilight Gardens in St. Joseph, Missouri, and they sell stone statuary. And basically, what I did was I had to go in and learn how to make all these different kinds of statues. Definitely something that I didn't know before going into that was how, specific of something that Todd does. He has a very particular set of skills that, not a lot of people have. And so to go somewhere like that and be able to see how it's done is very almost inspiring. I don't know if it came across on camera. It was extremely hot that day. We filmed it in like the middle of June, and I made the decision of wearing pants that day. So I was just sitting there. Every time the camera turned off, I was just sweating bullets.
What episode was more physically demanding, the farm episode or the episode with Twilight Gardens?
I would probably say Twilight Gardens was more demanding. Just lugging all like the statues and the concrete powder around. Aroma wise, I think it was more physically demanding for the dairy farm episode.
To stay.
Yeah. That's good.
Could you explain the second episode, the dairy farm episode, what went on there, what happened there?
Yeah, so that episode was really interesting. I think something that I didn't know before going in was how these big industrial machines milked cows. I was thinking going into this episode I'm going to be sitting there with like a little steel pail just milking away.
Cow yourself.
I didn't know how it was done beforehand. Me and our entire crew were up at the crack of dawn, and it was just, there's definitely some specific things that have to be done in a specific order at the dairy farm. Definitely the hardest part I think was probably for me cleaning, just because you had all those nice aromas in this little shed, it was definitely not the most fun part. Haley just handed me a shovel and she said, get to it, I got stuff to do, and I was like, okay. I also think we probably could have made just like a compilation of the moments of me just gagging while I was cleaning. Oh, Lord. Oh, Pete. Oh.
What was the third episode, and could you walk us through what you did there?
The third episode was at a place called Land of Music in St. Joseph, and basically they're a music retail store and newly instrument repair shop with Larry Gerhardt, who was kind of walking me through my entire day. Me coming from a music background, it's interesting to see how all this stuff happens behind the scenes that you don't normally get to see in your everyday music career. I had to fix a few different instruments in the back that day, mainly a clarinet, a flute, and a trombone slide. It was definitely interesting to see how all of it was done, all the tiny pieces. I think I dropped at least 3, which was mortifying.
Oh no. There goes one.
Fixing the trombone slide, I would say was the hardest because you have to be so precise to get it to slide just right.
What were some of the most fun moments during some of the shoots?
I definitely think there were a lot of fun moments during the dairy farm episode. Even if it wasn't my favorite to shoot, I think it definitely became the funniest episode. For instance, during the car interview with me and Haley, we had our audio guy, Joe, just laying down in the back seat trying to capture everything while trying to be out of frame, which was definitely funny. Sound good, Joe? During the Twilight Garden episodes, I think it was really fun and interesting to get to, interview Todd and hear about his getting into the business from such a young age, which is, incredible. And the Land of Music episode, our final episode, we were all in like this tiny, cramped back room with like 4 cameras and like 6 people, and it was just fun to be around everybody.
Would you recommend any of the jobs that you've done within the past 3 episodes to anyone else doing it?
I think definitely, yeah, all 3 of these jobs had their ups and downs. I think if you're on the fence about wanting to do something, just go for it, because like stepping outside of your comfort zone and doing something that you're not sure about is the best way to learn whether you want to do it or not, because if you don't do it, you'll never know.
What are some thoughts that you have looking back at all the episodes and throughout the entire series?
Looking back over the series, I think I didn't realize how, hands-on some of these jobs actually are.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, the first episode, the stone statuary episode, there's definitely a lot more that goes into that I would have never imagined. Taking apart all the molds, pouring all the concrete in this huge barrel mixer. Definitely a lot. I had a lot of fun, I think, with every episode, which was good.
What has been your biggest takeaway from the whole series?
I think definitely my biggest takeaway and kind of the overarching, point of the show is definitely to highlight the fact that people have definitely become skilled at their own craft, and it's just incredible to see how good somebody can be at one thing, and it's just, it definitely takes time to hone your skills for that, and I don't think a lot of people realize that, so much work goes into doing something that they don't think anything about. You order a gallon of milk, you're like, oh yeah, it's just a gallon of milk, nothing goes into it, but then you see behind the scenes of it, and you kind of see how everything fits together.
What skills have you gained from these past 3 episodes that you can apply to real life, real world situations?
I think a big skill I've definitely gained is the ability to adapt to situations I'm thrown into. Because before these episodes, I don't even know what to expect, really. I know what we're doing and I know when we're doing it, and that's about it. So, when you get thrown into these situations that you've never been into, and, you just kind of have to figure your way out in there. I think another skill is definitely become more sociable. All these, great people I've been hosting with, they've definitely had great stories and things that I can kind of learn from and take into my own life. I definitely think that something to apply to my own life is, after seeing all of their perspectives, is to be passionate in whatever I do, because it makes it more fun for you and more enjoyable.
If you liked this episode of It Takes All Kinds, make sure to like the video and subscribe to KNWT for more student-produced content.